Hey everyone, it's Puff Dragon again. What I want to do for you guys today is go over my 6x3 by 3 foot Boamaster Tegu cage. I really like it. You know, it really fits my needs for the moment, and it's pretty easy to clean. It's made out of melamine, has the wood front. You know, I really like it. It's simple to clean, keep maintained, and gets the job done for what I'm using it for. One thing I just want to make note of, it has 3 locks, which I keep locked at all times. Recommend getting locks for any of your reptile enclosures. They're notorious for escaping, and they might get hurt. You know, if you have other animals like I do, I have 2 cats. You know, it's absolutely necessary. Snakes, lizards, anything. You know, make sure you keep those enclosures secure at all times. So, first things first, you know, there's Lane, my male, and the female, she actually went into her hide. She's hanging out down in there. I'm not going to bother her. You know, if a Tegu or any other reptile goes in her hide, it's advised, you know, you don't bother them. That's their safe and secure area. You know, leave them be. They'll come out when they want to. But, so this is it, you know. I revamped it a little bit from my last video I made. As you can see, I added some stuff, and I'll try and hit all the topics as I walk through this. First things first, I have this Cypress mulch here. It can be found usually in most of your local hardware stores in the garden section. I really like this stuff. It's what I use. Holds moisture very well and keeps your humidity up in the cage. I think for this cage I have about 9 cubic feet, which was 3 bags. I think they were about $3 each. I don't know. So, you know, you're saving money by using the hardware store rather than, you know, going to the pet store, find stuff there. You know, over here, just have a standard water dish. Keeps in the corner. Try and change the water once every day, if not every other day. Next, I have just a hide. I stuffed it with some moss. You know, I keep it, it stays pretty moist in there. I have found the Tegus in there a couple times. It's a little humid hide. They like to dig in it, they like to lay in it, and you know, it's important to have multiple hides in the enclosure. And this one's stuffed with moss just to keep the humidity up, and they can choose to go in there and help themselves shed if they need to. Here's just a big piece of bark I found one day when I was out hiking. I really liked it. It's been in my possession for over a year. One thing I want to note about that is whenever you use anything from the outside, whether it's sticks, leaves, branches, bark, you really got to make sure it doesn't harbor any parasites. You have to take the proper steps to rid it of any mites, any other bugs it might have, and then it usually will be safe. This one I baked in the oven, and I think I soaked it too in a tub for a few hours. So it's been in my possession for a long time. You know, I know it's clean, free of any parasites, and just this little, you know, decoration for the cage. I added these 2 little plants. I actually bought them at IKEA. They're fake. You know, they've been in here for about a week. The Tegus haven't dug them up or tipped them or moved them, which they're notoriously known to do. I'm surprised. So I'll see how long they last. But it's just something else I added. You know, get the cage a little more aesthetic appeal. Here I have 2 big cork bark tunnels, or half logs. You know, doubles as a hide and a basking spot for this light I have here. Here comes Lane. But you know, I like them. Got them at a reptile expo. Look very natural. Adds aesthetic appeal and a basking area. Where you going, buddy? This guy, he likes to come out. He loves coming out. Very friendly. This is Lane, my male Argentine black and white Tegu from Bobby Hill's Extreme stock. Let's see, what else? Here you go. In the last video I didn't have so many slate rocks. You know, I added more. I wanted to get the basking spot higher to the light sources to increase the basking temp and amount of UVB exposure. One thing I can note about these is keep supervised. You know, if you have burrowing species like Tegus, they love to dig, they love to explore. make sure you stack the rocks really well if you're going to use smaller slate like I did, because they can dig under it. They have a couple burrows. You know, they go in under there, they'll come out here, they'll go in back in the right hand corner, and if you don't watch it, they can, you know, dig under a rock and it can fall on them, they can get stuck. You know, just supervise, you know, what they're doing. You know, for the most part they should be safe. Another thing, another feature, you know, I have two basking spots, main basking spots. This is good, I think, because I'll find the tegus, you know, during the day, one in each spot. So, you know, sometimes they're in the same spot, but 2 spots is good because this way they're not fighting over, you know, the best basking spot in the enclosure. You know, there's no dominance issues, things for them to nitpick over, and you know, it works out well. Let's see, this is how I did my wiring. You know, I'm not too technical savvy when it comes to building things, but this is how I did it. I don't even know the proper names for everything. But I had my housing unit screwed into the wall, has the wires inside that are wired up to the light. That's just a regular spot lamp. I think it's made by Zoomed. It's a 50 or no, a 75 watt, and that actually is enough to get this spot right here up to about, I think the highest I've read was 107, and that's perfect for a tegu. Here comes Regan. Maybe she'll come out and hang out with us. Next thing, you know, I have a 3-foot Zoomed 10.0 rep the sun bulb. This produces no heat, good for UVB, and you know, I really like that. This one does not produce any UVB. This does. The fitting I have is just your standard shop light found at Walmart. I think I got it really cheap, less than $5, and you know, there's ways to save money when you're doing all this, which is good. And then here you go. This was I thought I was going to be able to use the double fixture, but I ended up just using the one. I taped up the other one just in case tegus wanted to jump at it. Possible risk of shocking themselves, which I would not want. And I'm battling with Lane here. He wants to come out. I know, buddy. I'm just trying to do a walkthrough and then we'll hang out. Going up the shoulder. Ooh. Alright, maybe I'll hang out there for a little while I do this. So, anyway. Yeah, so the double fixture's there. You know, I have everything wired together, except the fluorescent runs on its own power source. These 2 fixtures run on the same power source. You can see the wire that runs to the other housing unit. And that is a 100 watt T-Rex active UV bulb. You know, I got really lucky. I was at the pet store one day and they had 5 of them on sale for $20 each, so I scooped them all up. Otherwise, I like to use the Zoomed Parasuns or Mega Rays, whatever I have available. And this is perfect, you know. Also produces UVA and UVB and heat. The basking spot right there runs about 110. And, you know, there's another hide underneath all the pile of rocks. And, you know, that's how I'm doing my cage right now. You know, I have a heat gradient of about 78 in the far corners and underneath the logs. And then they also have their basking spots and warmer spots that they can choose what temperature is good for them. And that's pretty much how I have it set up. I do not use any under the tank heaters or flex watt, anything of that nature. I don't believe it's needed for this particular species. And that's how I'm doing it. One thing I like to do when I'm spraying to keep the moisture up or humidity is I spray right onto these logs. You see there's a whole bunch of little nooks and crannies, and piles of wood will sit in there. And since it's right underneath this light, you know, that's evaporating, that's creating added humidity on top of, you know, what's already in the enclosure. And I really like doing that. You know, if you can create humidity using different methods, that's great. That's about it. I'm still fiddling with Lane. He keeps climbing all over. So I hope that was a good enough walkthrough. If you have any questions or need some help, let me know. And I'm gonna put the camera down and hang out with the lizards for a little while and enjoy their company. Thanks, guys.